So let's get into NFC North potential cap cuts here. Let's go to Green Bay. Start things off with Jordy Nelson here. And look, this is a situation where the Green Bay Packers are going to have to cut one of two people. Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb. Here's Jordy.
Take your pick. I don't think it's going to matter in the end which one they cut. I think they're both relatively similar players at this point in the career. When the Packers re-signed Davante Adams to that big deal, they kind of sent the telegram like, hey, we got to cut one of these other guys here. We can't afford to keep both. Both these guys have over a $12 million cap hit. You can save about $10 million each. I don't know which one you end up cutting. We went with Jordy here. I think it's a bit of a toss-up. He has a top 10 cap hit at wide receiver. That's not worth it for Jordy, who didn't quite look the same when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Didn't look the same going forward even when he came back.
Well, the problem is he slowed up. He can't create separation anymore on the outside, and it looks like he's going to have to play primarily in the slot now. Do you want a top 10 cap hit at wide receiver for a guy who plays in the slot? No.
I think the Cobb kind of falls in that same boat as well. I think you maybe could even see both of them get cut and the Packers kind of blow it up at receiver. Davante Adams is there to stay. I don't know if Jordy Nelson is. I think Nelson is the one that may be a bit more likely to get cut, but both those guys are very much on the chopping block right now, and it's because of their cap hit. Maybe they take a cap cut and they restructure their contract and take a pay cut. But as of right now, $10.2 million in savings is a lot and definitely worthwhile if you're looking at Jordy Nelson's future.
Well, I'm wondering if Aaron Rodgers is texting Jordy and Randall respectively saying, look, guys, you may want to restructure those contracts if you want to hang around. So there's Jordy Nelson there at wide receiver for the Packers, a potential cap cut coming out of the NFC North. How about this guy, Clay Matthews, another potential cap cut in Green Bay?
Look, he bounced back with 8.5 sacks, but do you want to pay Clay Matthews, who is on the decline and is really the number 2 pass rusher on the Packers, $11.3 million next year when you can save all of it? That's a lot of money to pay Clay Matthews.
He's the face of Green Bay.
He is, but that's also why I think he could be a prime cut and resign or restructure option, or just flat out pay cut. He's just not worth $11.3 million. Now, I do see some scenarios in which he stays in Green Bay, but not at $11.3. I just think that's too much money to try and pay a linebacker who's not the same player that he once was. So I don't know if you're going to see Clay Matthews stick around in Green Bay.
All right, so there is Clay Matthews, been a Packer all his life, really the face of that defense, and of course Aaron Rodgers, the face of that offense, respectively. This guy, well, he was supposed to be the face of the Chicago Bears offense, and well, that just didn't work out, Mike Glennon.
Yeah, I almost forgot about him, honestly. And I think a lot of people did too, oh, it's Trubisky. Oh, that's right, they signed Mike Glennon. $16 million cap hit, you will not pay that for your backup quarterback. You're just not going to do it, unless you're the Patriots and you have Jimmy Garoppolo. But that doesn't matter anymore. You're not going to see Mike Glennon back at the Bears. They can save so much money by cutting him $11.5 million or $12.5 for just $1 million difference. You probably take the $11.5 if you need it in free agency. Bears do have quite a bit of cap space, though. You take that money and you go throw it at wide receivers, like Jarvis Landry, for example. We'll talk about it in a little bit later. But Glennon, just the cap hit for a backup quarterback just doesn't make any sense. Why would you bring him back?
Big arm, tall guy, right? Those work, right? Paxton
Lynch,
those
Josh
work
Freeman. All the time.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, yeah. Teams just fall in love with these guys. Turns out they're not very accurate. Glennon, in particular, had a lot of turnover problems this year.
Yes, he did.
Trubisky just looked better.
All right, so there is Mike Glennon there. How about the Detroit Lions? What could they do? Well, they could cut Eric Ebron. Tom, what were your thoughts on him coming out of the draft?
I liked him. I don't typically like spending a top 10 pick on a tight end because they kind of bust a little bit more than you'd like to see. With Ebron's in a weird spot. He wasn't bad for Detroit. He ended up closing the year, I thought, pretty well. But he's got an $8.25 million cap hit. That's top 7 among tight ends. I don't think his production matches his money. You can save all of it, maybe even re-sign him afterwards. I just don't think the Lions want Ebron back at that amount of money. And they've spent a couple first-round picks on tight ends, Brandon Pettigrew among them. I think they'll try and go cheaper at tight end. They could try and re-sign Ebron, but at $8.25 million, that's too much for him. I don't think that. Not only that, that's not good value at all.
So this whole discussion about salary cap cuts really comes down to one thing: return on investment.
Exactly.
And do you get that return on investment with Eric Ebron? Probably not. So there he is in our list among NFC North candidates. Finally, Latavius Murray. Oh, yeah, there's a guy named Dalvin Cook coming back.
Yeah, he'll come back. And Latavius Murray has been the same player every single year. He scores a lot because he's good in the red zone, and then he averages 4 yards a carry. That is who Latavius Murray is. And when you're putting up 4 yards a carry, that's nothing special. Like, you can find that with a mid-round draft pick. A $6.35 million cap hit can save almost all but $1 million of that. You can save their $5 million there in the end for Minnesota. They're gonna cut him, and they're gonna end up saving him on that end. That's gonna be an easy decision on that front there for the Minnesota Vikings there. It's kind of a no-brainer. They love Dalvin Cook, and for good reason. They're going to bring him back there for sure. I would be stunned if they kept him. What do you think of Murray's future going forward, Cam?
Well, look, you have the Jerick McKinnon situation as well, which I think really he proved this season he can be a quality running back. So you have McKinnon, you have Dalvin Cook. I think for the Minnesota Vikings now, they're going to be in flux, right? Because they have a unique quarterback situation where all three of their quarterbacks are going to be free agents. And so they got to figure out that situation. Maybe they're going to have to free up some money if they want to bring Case Keenum back. So in that vein, maybe you have to let Latavius Murray walk. So it makes sense to me. And Murray, at the end of the day, the guy's just not a three-down back.
He's average. That's what he is. And you can find average, especially at halfback, late in the draft. I just don't know why the Vikings would want to bring him back unless they have real concerns about Dalvin Cook's health, which I don't think they do.
All right, let's summarize our NFC North potential cap cuts here. Jordy Nelson, Clay Matthews, Mike Glennon, Eric Ebron, Latavius Murray, honorable mention, Randall Cobb.